On January 27th, 1978, just 4 days past the murder of Teresa Wallen, the brutal murderer would strike again. And welcome to another episode of Drunk and Demonic, the most disturbing podcast that gets drunk as shit while you listen to them. This episode, what do you say? This goes out to everyone who's ever just put their head down for a second and maybe said they were resting their eyes for a moment when the bartender said they need to fucking leave because you can't sleep here.
You can't sleep at the bar. Sorry, I was just praying.
This goes out to you.
Cheers to you.
You know who you are.
Cheers to anyone that's been so desperate that they forgot to have hard liquor, so they just shot well vodka. Cause that
Jungle Cat.
Right. That's me and you, buddy. We did.
Last time you drank this, you literally almost died.
I did. With the kombucha.
The most hungover I've ever seen you in your entire life.
I definitely was.
Actually, that's not true. I've seen you more hungover than that, but it's a pretty close. It's a comparison worth having.
I think it was the most hungover I've ever been.
I know Sunday, Jamie.
Well, speaking of that, I am your host, Jamie, and this is our other host, Peter.
I'm Peter. I didn't know if you were going to introduce me or not.
I thought
I'm Peter.
I thought I would just leave it up, say half of it and kind of get you all razzle-dazzled to see what you're going to.
Yeah, man, who's that guy catching all them fishes? It's Peter.
It's Peter. Who's that guy granting all them wishes?
It's Peter.
Who's that guy doing all them dishes?
It's Peter.
Peter. Well, you want to go ahead and tell us what the fuck we're talking about tonight?
Some call him a serial killer. Some call him a spree killer. His crimes are disorganized, deranged, and definitely disgusting. He claimed that the sole purpose for his actions was to obtain the blood of his victims to sustain himself, earning him the title the Vampire of Sacramento. Tonight we'll be covering the atrocious crimes of one Richard Trenton Chase. A story so fucked up that we'll just have to get fucked up to get through it.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, buddy.
That's clever, dude. Was that Chappy GPG or you?
GPG? No, I actually did. I did that last part myself.
Oh, I like it. That's funny. It's funny. All right. Well, who do we have with us? But our trusty friend Pacifico, as per usual. I did find out recently that no one in Mexico drinks Pacifico.
Why?
Is what someone told me. They said no one drinks that. Everyone drinks Corona and Modelo.
Is it like Bud Light because it's super gay?
No, it's not. Is Pacifico gay?
I don't know. I always
drink it. I always drink it because
it's a Costa Rican thing, though.
Is it? No. So this is from Mazatlan, Mexico, and this is where my family.
Oh, I thought it was Costa Rica.
No, we'd vacation where it was made, and that's why we always drank it.
Chicago. Well, Crown Imports.
That's probably
Illinois.
No,
that's the distribution.
Yeah, that's definitely who distributes, but it's from Mazatlan.
I see that.
But I also brought us another little treat.
Yeah, what do you have here?
I have Dark Sky Brewing out of Flagstaff, Arizona's Chila Negra Dark Mexican Lager. And
no question, this is one of the coolest cans.
It's really cool. You see the alien in the back? Like by Monument Valley?
I'm trying to hold it as close as I can to the camera. I blocked a hockey puck last night, so I can't stretch my arm all the way.
Well, I can tell you that we went to this brewery because it was next.
He's also hanging under a cactus and an evergreen tree.
Yeah, it's pretty
interesting.
That's the mixture of Flagstaff.
For him.
So we went to this brewery because it was right next to our hotel when we were in Flagstaff a couple of weeks ago. And
you're not going to have one?
I will, yeah.
I think we have to crack it and try it.
I wanted to finish my story if that's okay with you.
Sorry.
I know you get excited. We walked in and they were playing bingo, and this place was going fucking wild for bingo.
How old was the crowd?
Like a range of, I'd say 25
to 55. No, 85.
Every age. No.
Okay.
No, but it was definitely, and everyone was hooting, hollering. And so I asked someone that I know from Arizona, and it's like, John, I went to this place and they went nuts for bingo. And he's like, oh, that's all of Arizona. It goes crazy for bingo.
Why is that?
I don't know.
They don't have an answer?
No.
It's not like, because it's like the only legal gambling.
No, because there's tons of gambling in Arizona.
That's fair.
There are reservations.
Yeah, there are reservations everywhere.
Yeah.
There?
Yeah. Totes. All right, let's try it out.
Yeah, let's give some sips. Just like Dave Portnoy, dude. One sip only.
Is that what he says, or is he takes one bite of pizza? It's chocolate. Chocolatey.
I do like that.
Mhm.
It has that like very like
Brownie. Tastes more like a stout.
yeah, it has some like chocolate, maybe a little bit of coffee overtones
Mm-hmm.
or undertones, I guess.
I get that. I get that coffee for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, we are really becoming the connoisseurs.
Dark Sky Brewing, I do like this.
Yeah.
It also isn't overly carbonated.
Mm-hmm.
I can already tell that because it doesn't make me burp immediately. I don't burp well at all. So the fact that there's very little carbonation in this beer does make me feel better about drinking it.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about
We're also sitting again at a 4.7, which is a similar-ish percentage to Guinness.
4.4. It's Guinness.
We're under 5. We're in the range.
So, since you brought up the fact that you have a hard time burping,
Yeah, I can't really do it unless I'm like about to puke. That's the only time I burp.
well, you've been drinking.
It's fucking dangerous.
Well, you've been drinking a lot more beer lately.
Yeah, a little
Is
bit.
that working? Are you like getting a palate now, so where you're not gonna have to burp all the time?
No, I just hold it in, dude.
So you have burps right now?
That was a little tiny one. I don't know if you heard it.
No.
I literally just did like the babiest
I
little
think
burp.
that you're
'cause,
fake burping.
no, like I can't do it intentionally. It just kind of falls out of my face. I don't know how to like do a burp.
Like when you tell someone that you accidentally farted, but you know you really pushed it out.
No, it's different.
Good.
Yeah, kind of like
Do you inhale?
what it would be like is if it was like, hey, I'm gonna fart, and then you actually do, versus like, hey, sorry, I just farted a little bit. That's what happens to me burping.
When I was
I can't control it at all. It just kind of happens. I know I've been drinking a lot more beer this year.
yeah.
That was my
I think
resolution for the year. So
Oh, really?
yeah,
Don't know what mine was.
I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, mine was to no longer make myself drink Wounded Soldiers if I fell asleep and didn't finish my beer.
Really?
Yeah, and I did it. I went to drink my Wounded Soldier because I always drink. Like if I fall asleep and don't finish the beer, I wake up the next morning and drink it.
See, the thing is though, is that you got beers that you're chugging the next morning. I got fucking wine or whiskey that I'm drinking the next morning, and I usually go for it, but I've been holding back.
We subconsciously both got rid of Wounded Soldiers from our resolution. Well, why don't we like quit rambling?
Yeah,
let's go on to something.
We should fucking.
Yeah, you're fucking so dumb for bringing that up. Let's-
Thanks for blaming it all.
It's okay. It's obviously always your fault.
We-
Where are we
We
at?
talk about. We got our sponsor. I'm gonna say this is our big sponsor. The other ones we just fucking get because what we do. So they don't deserve
Are we
mention.
horror news or are we hell on earth, sir?
We're hell on earth first.
Okay. Do you want to go first?
Go for it, dude.
I don't have anything about hell on earth other than everything that's going on in the entire world right now. So I thought maybe we just like pick a fucking draw a straw and just talk about what fucking crazy shit that you want to talk about.
What are you talking about?
What do you mean? What am I talking about? So
There's everything in the earth is fair game, right?
is everything not so? For most people out there, they know that there was a recent election,
Yes, we covered it
and typically
briefly.
with new elections, the other side of the people that don't agree with the person that was elected lose their shit.
Yeah.
Do you?
And my heart, it goes out to them.
You heard? Well, I know
You
you.
see what I did there?
Yeah.
How like
You
it was.
were really hurt. So
It wasn't what the other motion was. for our hearts going out to people. I wanted to make sure that was clear.
I guess what I've been following the most is I've been watching just all this massive, scary deportation. And
Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous.
And they're saying that there's like set up concentration camps.
Guantanamo Bay is 100% being repurposed.
I thought
That's not even a fucking joke.
no, so
It's literally maybe being repurposed to hold at least 30,000.
And what I saw was Guantanamo Bay was going to be closed, not repurposed. I saw that Texas wrote to Sir Trump and said, hey, we have this many acres right outside of the border that you can use as a deportation holding facility. But I saw that Guantanamo Bay was going to be shut down. I actually watched the Trump say that. Did you see where he said it was going to be a place to send illegals?
Yes. Repurposed as a holding facility for people that are returning south of the border.
Wow.
Today that was published.
How do you feel about this?
Not very fucking good.
I just thought that's crazy. This like mass like hysteria for deportation. Is it really happening?
I think it is yet to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
But what I would say is that so far, what I have seen from the Trump administration is that Trump is doing what he said he was going to do. Whether or not it's legal or not, he's dealing with the courts after that.
I was really hoping that the one thing that I really liked about it was the no tax on tip thing. I thought, what if they all went forward on that first?
As a fellow bartender, I could also get behind.
I feel like
no tax on tips.
I thought it was a pipe dream the whole time.
Yeah, well, but like, I don't think it is a pipe dream.
Dangling the keys at us.
Mostly because like, I also think that like, there's plenty of other professions that are going to move to a tipped like payment plan to where like, they're not taxed on shit. Like, hey, my lawyer charges $30 an hour. I just have to tip them $300 untaxed.
Oh, well, that will fuck the government for sure.
Well, the government's already fucked.
Yeah, it's true.
They put themselves in.
They did that to themselves.
Yep, exactly. All right, do you want any specific story?
So that's it. I've been following a lot about the fires,
but the fires are fucking weird.
It's pretty.
They're crazy, man.
I figure you would have a little bit of like the conspiracy behind the fires.
I do have the conspiracy. Before
you say that, I just want to say my heart goes out to all the people that lost their homes.
Yeah.
And Peter also, his heart also goes out to the people that lost everything. But
keep in mind what I did here. I just want you to all see the motion that is happening.
What does this mean?
My heart is going out to you guys.
Oh, that's so beautiful. It is beautiful. Man,
do you know what I'm doing?
No,
I'm just intentionally not doing the sea aisle bit.
The seagull? The sea aisle. What are you saying?
We'll get past
What are you saying? What kind of weird hoopla are you into? So, you have nothing to say about the fires at all?
No, I mean, like, I think that, one, it's fucking crazy how much shit fucking burned down and that all of these fires started at the same time. Do I think they're a coincidence? Only in the way that, like, yeah, when you don't have any fucking water and they have, like, Santa Ana winds that literally come in every single fucking Christmas, yes, this is what happens. I don't have any, like, conspiracy that I really feel like peddling at this point. It really fucking sucks for everyone that has, whether it's homes or family or investments, or like, it doesn't fucking matter. Like, there's a lot of shit that was lost in those fires, like
a lot.
Yeah, and I don't wish that on anyone.
Yeah.
So
anyone at all.
Such like an unfortunate thing, and especially because, like, from what I've seen, like, insurance companies are like having a lot of trouble working with people to like do claims and stuff on this because for whatever reason, like California is like in a high volatility zone. So like they're saying, hey, like you knew what the risks were when you bought the place. Like we're not covering your insurance. And
what extent?
The government is trying to like help there. Like the state of California is trying to help there. It's the whole thing is just fucking sad.
Very sad.
I don't have a whole lot of like, there's conspiracies all over the fucking place. You'll see them everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like pushing a single one of them other than the fact that, dude, fuck insurance companies. I hope that all of the people that are at least losing their retirement or their home that they actually live in, or even people that have worked their entire life to like buy something close to the beach that live in a fucking shithole.
Mm-hmm.
Like even here in Steamboat or something like that, they have like a little fucking scrap of an apartment near any of this shit. Like I hope that insurance is at least able to help out some people. So
wow, that's way different than when we talked about Asheville. You're very sincere, Pete. Now,
I'm sorry.
Good on you.
Yeah,
it's all good.
Well, I was deep in conspiracy at that time. I'm depressed on conspiracy at this point.
All right. Well,
It's almost too much.
Let's move to something that makes us happy then. Let's move to horror news.
Oh, I have Hell on Earth.
Oh, you do? I thought you said you did.
No, I have a whole fucking segment.
Of course you do. Let's hear it.
So, I don't know if you have, like, and this is not anything that is happening, like, specifically at the moment, but I have gone into this incredibly deep dive into the Moscow, Idaho murders. Do you know anything about this?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay.
I'm sure, like, once you...
So there's, like, a couple different names for this. It's, like, they call it the Kings Road killings, the Idaho murders, the Moscow murders. On November 13th, 2022, in an off-campus house near the University of Idaho in Moscow, Idaho, 4 students were stabbed to death in sleep.
I thought we already covered this.
We did not.
Oh. Did you just talk about it?
So,
to me, the dream?
The next day at around 11:30, 2 of the people that lived in the house that 4 of these people died in, one of them calls the cops and says, hey, one of my roommates is unconscious.
Okay.
Police show up and they find 4 different students in 2 different bedrooms, all dead. Okay. We have Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin.
Okay.
Now, Kaylee Gonzalez and Madison Mogan are staying in one room. One of them, Kaylee, had moved out of the apartment and was back to like get some of her stuff. Even though she lived there before, she had moved away and then had come back to like get some of her stuff. And then Xana and Ethan were a couple, so they were in the same room.
Mm-hmm.
The whole fucking story is a complete mystery for about 3 months until police get back a DNA test on this weird knife sheath that was left at the scene. And police use this DNA evidence, surveillance footage. They are tracking cell phone data to get back to this guy named Brian Koberger, who is a 28-year-old criminology PhD student at the very, very nearby Washington State University. And he is arrested on December 30th, 2022.
This is the Coeur d'Alene, I assume, then?
No. It will be...
If it's close to Spokane, I assume.
Yeah.
Right?
Just outside of Spokane.
So that's Coeur d'Alene.
Yep.
That's Idaho.
The murders take place in Moscow, Idaho.
Mm-hmm.
He's across state lines at the University of Washington State, I guess, which would be in
Spokane.
Like we mentioned, there's this like, he has had to submit DNA to this case. He has also had all of his cell phone data tracked, which is highly suspicious.
Don't be suspicious.
He's super suspicious about his about his phone tracking, where he's at his home, and then all of a sudden he goes 10 miles outside, heading towards the University of Idaho. Okay. His phone turns off. 3 hours later, it turns back on like a side road leading outside of Moscow, and then heads back. Washington State University.
Yep.
The whole story, like it's not a new story.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of something that I personally have just dug into a lot. And I think that we'll most likely cover this, but I don't want to go too much into it because the case is in the middle of the trial. Brian Koberger has pleaded not guilty and is still awaiting trial. His motives remain unclear.
So he did murder them, and he
has officially been charged.
Okay.
He has not at all even gone to trial yet for conviction. Okay. So I don't have like a ton of information that I care to put out at this point, mostly because like I don't want to get in any trouble for like saying shit that isn't or is there.
I don't think anyone's going to listen.
I don't think he's listening to us either, but you know what? Like, I'd rather not, we made a deal that we would not get canceled before 20 episodes.
Oh, well, this is 19.
This is episode 19. We could get canceled from this episode because it's going to be a fucking bad one. But
cool.
Either way, the story is really crazy. To me, it looks like almost like a Dexter type scenario where there's a guy that knows all about how to defend yourself from prosecution on these cases, and he just wants to see if he can get away with it. I don't even think that's not necessarily like the Dexter premise, but like that's kind of what I'm seeing here, is that at least from what I can tell, he seems to be the reasonable suspect, and there's a lot of evidence that leans his way. He thought he could get away with it because he was a PhD student in criminology.
If it wasn't for
those fucked up.
Wasn't for those meddling kids.
Yep. So, anyways, this was like
I've got my Scooby-Doo rest.
Honestly,
just too serious. All right. Go on.
Anyways,
you don't want to tell us anything about it, but you want to keep talking about it.
No, we're just gonna
I am stressed out too.
As soon as we know more,
yeah,
I think we should do a case on this.
Okay,
because it is absolutely fascinating. One, how this case happened, the reason for why maybe this person did it, and then also like how all of this has come together, and whether or not this person is going to be found guilty is also incredibly like suspect, because there's a lot of weird things, including we're getting back to like a thing that is a very, very modern resource for police, but DNA,
80s,
like sourcing,
90s.
No. Like they're talking like genealogy, where they're going to like different like websites, not 23andMe. They're apparently not at all involved in this, but there's this, we talked about this in the very first episode that we did, Jed Match. It's how this guy was caught, is because a relative of his submitted his DNA, and then it led back through the fucking family tree to this person, and that's how they found that guy.
Wow,
being
really?
Done the same exact way, where they had this DNA that was on the knife sheet, and then they have traced it back to be this other person. And like, there's certainly a lot of other evidence, which is why I like give it a whole lot more credence than just being like, I don't know, we'll see if he's guilty or not. But like, it's an interesting story to follow. And I've like, I don't know, probably gone through like 20 hours of podcasts in the last couple weeks, like listening to all the different theories on this case and whether or not this guy is going to fucking jail forever.
Sounds about right for you. And also sounds about right for murdering people.
Yep.
Going to jail forever.
He should. If he did it.
We'll find out.
All right.
Tune in.
Horror news, dude. Lead us off.
Horror's news. I'm going to lead you off. So I did go and watch Wolfman.
Did you like it?
Yes and no. I don't want to
curse, isn't it?
I don't want to say that I hyped it up a bunch. I think going into it, I thought because of all the things we've said that how it's going to be tied into like a dark universe and all that. And it kind of ended where I don't think there'll be another like movie in that same. Like,
it's a one-off. It's not. I think. Okay, but I don't hate that. I'd love a good tie-in.
I didn't like I said, I didn't mind it.
Yeah.
I think the thing like story was a little like slowish or not.
I mean, it was written in like the 1915s?
No, it wasn't.
Oh.
It was written right now. And it was the same guy that did The Invisible Man.
Yeah. Aren't these stories all from fucking like forever ago?
No, like the Wolfman is from like the 1920s, but all this is written like right now, trying to revamp the Universal monsters.
Right, but they're taking the stories.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, interesting.
At least I haven't watched the original Wolfman in a very long time, but I don't think it has to do with the same thing about this one.
Okay, interesting. I feel like it's really difficult for us to rate movies because our job, in some sense, is to like hype up and get excited about it. And we like, at least I have like a tendency to be like, oh, this is going to be so fucking good because we want to fucking relate to our audience. And we want to say like, hey, this movie looks to be so sick. And we do all the research on it. And we look like, hey, this director is doing it. And these actors are in it. And it's
exactly
written by this person. It's obviously going to make you excited to go see it beyond a regular like viewer's sense. So like, it may be that we're just like treating things a little unfair because we have to deep dive so hard into things that like we live in a world of reality and not in superficialness. The movies that we want to be good, might not be that
we're
good.
We're definitely horror nerds.
Yeah, for sure.
We definitely watch way more horror than anyone else. So I think that might also be a crutch of it. It's like, oh, I watch a lot of horror, so I'm like, oh, this was not turning any heads for me.
Yep.
But it wasn't necessarily like terrible.
Yeah.
That's where I was at it. I also had
What do you rate it out of 10?
Say 6.
6?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's fine. I thought the Wolfman looked a little weird.
Okay. Super CGI?
No, it kind of like there wasn't a lot of hair to it. I think they wanted it to look like it was just like the beginning stages of a Wolfman. Without throwing a lot of spoilers out, I can just say that there's a town in Oregon in this movie where they're like, you don't go out at night. And so I think the premise is that there's just a fuck ton of Wolfman, or there's been Wolfman there forever. And there is another Wolfman in the movie, other than the one that like you get to see a lot of.
Yeah.
And it too is just like, has like 7 or 8 hairs here and like a couple of hairs here. It looks like it's barely turning into the Wolfman.
Yeah.
But then the other one that has been around for a while also looks like that.
Okay.
So you're like, do they become fully like hairy
as they grow older?
No, or like
the hair fall out.
Just like, are they always just like looks like
they just look like they're maybe making it?
Yeah.
All right.
That's where I was like, okay, this like the wolf part of it just didn't look.
Well, and that's fair. Like, I understand why like you don't love that movie. You've always said that your favorite movie was Twilight New Moon.
I've never seen Twilight. And you know that. Have you seen it?
I just assumed that like that was your favorite wolf movie.
Where it sparkles?
Were Jacobs in that movie?
Yeah.
I think that's the werewolf's name.
Please tell me the plot of it. I don't know everything you know.
Part of it, but I'm trying to make jokes here. I just know that like that was your favorite movie of all time, right?
Yes.
Okay. I love that for you though. And I'm sorry that this movie didn't quite meet that standard.
That and Bloodsport 3. I do have something else I wanted to bring up.
Continue.
So you know how we talked about the Pooniverse for a long time?
Yes.
And we talked about all the movies that are coming out?
So much shit.
Did you not notice that like randomly, like something we didn't even talk about, just a movie came out and was in theaters for 3 days and now is no longer in theaters.
Tell me.
Peter Pan's Twisted Adventures.
No, you mentioned this.
I did not.
Yes, you fucking did.
I talked about Winnie the Pooh.
You did. You brought up Peter Pan.
Yeah.
Yes, you did.
You go back and then tomorrow you call me up and say you're sorry.
I will take your apologies in dollars.
So
you brought up Peter Pan in this whole
Anywho, say they came out with a Pooniverse movie.
Yeah.
And they also said
immediately.
They also said it's just the Twisted Childhood Saga like you wanted it.
Yes.
Not the Pooniverse.
No, it's still the fucking they have called it the Pooniverse. Every fucking video I've seen has also called it the fucking Pooniverse, and I fucking hate it.
Did you see that this movie came out?
No, I had no idea that
the same
Pan's fucking movie.
The same weekend as the Wolfman. So it was in theaters for 3 days, just like Winnie the Pooh was.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's gone. And we could wait.
We'll never get to see it again.
We'll get to watch it in like 3 weeks if we want to pay for it.
Probably true.
Or just like wait a couple months. And
yep.
Yeah. I thought it was funny because we talked about it.
And then all of a sudden, here it is.
All of a sudden, here's another movie.
It's fucking happening, man. The Pooniverse is real.
Fall victim to the Poon.
I don't even know what to say to that.
Nose deep.
I was going to say that I got to watch Creep Tapes.
Creep Tapes?
Have you seen any of that?
What is it? Where is it from?
Have you seen the movie Creep or Creep 2?
Mm-mm.
It has Mark Duplass in it, and it usually revolves around him. Like, it's all found footage type film. Where like he invites someone out, some like make a movie, and then all of a sudden like shit gets fucking weird, and it definitely just revolves around him like fucking with someone and then like potentially killing them.
I've never seen one, but I now know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay,
it's the dude from the League, correct?
Yes, the fantasy fucking football show. Yes, him, which is to me was surprising to begin with, but he is so fucking good. The Creep Tapes is, let's think of, so they have Creep 1 and Creep 2, which are just different ones of him being this guy who asks someone to come out and they film him like exploring the wilderness, or they, these kinds of weird things.
It's like a Craigslist thing, right?
Yes. It's all through, like, for the most part, it's based out of, like, mostly, like, California, LA type area where, like, there's actors that are looking for, like, weird work and filmographers that are being contracted to film it. And the Creep Tapes is pretty much that, but that's how, like, the first episode is definitely, like, the guy, Mark Duplass, like, wanting to be, like, filming his audition tapes for all of these different movies that he's trying to get into. He, like, acts like Dracula for a second. It's kind of funny, but, like, then he gets a little more serious, and then he, like, it all transitions to, like, wait, is this real, or is this not real? Is this guy an actual psychopath doing a monologue, or is he about to kill me?
Or just fan.
And then it goes to the next episode, and like there's a guy that's like watching, like he's looking for birds, and this guy like apparently falls from the fucking sky, and it's Mark Duplass, and he like it's like, whoa man, it's crazy that you found me here. Like, I don't know, but anyways, Creep Tape, what phenomenal.
Okay. So Creep Tape,
you have to go watch it. Even if you don't watch the original Creep movies, you can watch each episode individually. They don't tie in together at all.
What's it on?
I believe it's on Amazon.
Okay.
Is where I was watching.
And it's a show.
I mean, it's probably on Shudder. So I have trouble like recommending things on Amazon because if you don't have Shudder or AMC Plus, then you don't get to actually see it on Amazon. So I think it's probably on Amazon. If not, it's on Shudder. Just fucking buy it because it's anyone that's listening is gonna like it. It's $6 fucking.
So there's Creep 1, Creep 2. Yeah, and this is the show.
And there's multiple. There's now,
correct?
I think 2 or 3 seasons of this, and there's like 8 episodes a season, and they're 30 minute episodes, and
it's all found footage, correct?
Yes, correct. Everything is completely independent of the next story. You don't have to watch one to get the next. It's just this one guy being the creepiest motherfucker on the internet. Like, if this shit was like posted onto YouTube in like the early 2000s, like 2005 to 2010, and he made it as like a joke, but didn't say whether, like the Blair Witch type style, like these videos would be fucking viral. That's how this video, like it's how it's shot. It's like, oh, it's people stumbling into this guy that's fucking crazy.
That's pretty funny.
So
that was awesome.
I don't know. Definitely check out Creep Tapes. They're fucking so good. Great horror. I'm impressed.
Perfect. Well, that was a wonderful time we just had. With all that being said, I think we're ready for that big old main event. You want a main event all over my face then, Peter?
Well, do my best. All right. Before we begin, we have to preface that the case we'll be covering today deals with extreme violence, necrophilia, and acts so horrendous they defy rational understanding. Our intention is not to offend anyone, but if you consider yourself squeamish, this episode might not be the one for you. If you think you can handle, we suggest you pour yourself a stiff drink and buckle up for a wild ride. With that being said, we are going to jump right into the story of Richard Trenton Chase, the vampire of Sacramento. On the morning of January 23rd, 1978, a scruffy man in a dirty orange jacket approached the walkway of the Wallen household. He stopped at the mailbox on the street and pulled out his .22 caliber handgun, cocking it once to eject a single bullet, which he placed inside the mailbox. Gun in hand, he then proceeded down the walkway to the front door. He tried the door and found it unlocked, letting himself in. After closing the door, 22-year-old Teresa Wallen would round the corner of the hallway into the entryway, holding a bag of trash. This man would raise his .22 pistol and fire. Teresa would scream and put her hands in the defensive position. The bullet would pass through Teresa's hand, elbow, and neck, causing her to drop to the floor. The man then shot Teresa twice in the head, ending her suffering. The man then scooped Teresa up by her arms, carried her to the bedroom, leaving behind a large blood trail. He would place Teresa upon the bed, and then he sexually assaulted her. When he was finished, he walked to the kitchen and retrieved a knife. He also grabbed an empty yogurt cup that had fallen out of that bag of trash. The man first pulled up Teresa's shirt and cut off her left nipple, sucking on it. Then he stabbed her torso viciously, breaking through her sternum. He then sliced her stomach open. From the wound, the man reached in and pulled out her organs, stabbing them repeatedly, over and over again. After his complete annihilation of Teresa's organs, he then took the aforementioned yogurt cup and dipped it into the empty stomach cavity, where he would begin to drink her own blood. After several cups, he took a full cup to the bathroom and smeared it all over his face, hands, and body. At this point, the man exited into the backyard of the Wallen home. However, before leaving, he found a pile of dog feces just outside the door. He scooped up the feces, returned to the bedroom where Teresa lay, and proceeded to stuff it in her mouth and smear it around her face. He then exited the home through the front door. Around 6 p.m., Teresa's husband, David, would return home from work to find the bag of trash scattered around the entryway. He followed a stain that at the time he believed was oil to the couple's bedroom. Once he gazed upon the horrific scene of mutilation inside his bedroom, he began to scream. This alarmed the neighbors who came to help, and then they called the police. As the police processed the scene, they were completely puzzled. The scene itself was completely characteristic of a disorganized killer or perhaps an intense crime of passion, they also found that the killer had taken the knife he had used back to the sink, washed it, and left it in the drying rack. The tip of the knife had broken off in the frenzied attack. The last bit of horror detectives were able to obtain upon questioning David was that his wife Teresa had been 3 months pregnant with their future son. The sheer brutality of what happened in the Wallen home left investigators shaken. They had no suspect, no clear motive, only a nightmarish crime scene soaked in blood. But what none of detectives knew at the time was that this was just the beginning, because only days later, the same thing would happen all over again. How you doing?
I'm great.
Fucking brutal.
Yes.
So
We're going right into it.
yeah, I
How do
the
we?
episode a little differently.
I noticed. Like, how do we know? I felt like I was right there.
Yeah.
How do we know that he just took that dog shit and put it right in her mouth? I guess the husband saw it.
No,
That's
like,
what that's what I was worried about. I was like,
so a lot of this
He's
comes
right, too.
from investigation. You and I both well know, like, you pick up some dog shit, there's like some traces left behind. And apparently, I think in the interview process, when David, he's like, oh yeah, there was definitely some dog shit there. I didn't fucking get to it, kind of thing. Yeah.
it's fucked up. I knew it was fucked up, but I didn't know it was that fucked up.
Yep. I told you to research a little bit, but not too much.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to get like honest reactions on this, so.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
Here it is. What the fuck is wrong with this person? Why are we covering this? Whose idea was it? It might have been mine.
Yeah, this was definitely your call.
It was definitely mine.
Yeah. I don't have a whole lot else to say at this point. I'm just going to keep kind of plugging away at
Let's hear it.
details, because we'll get into kind of some like questions later that are more discussion worthy.
Let's do it.
All right. On January 27th, 1978, just 4 days past the murder of Teresa Wallen, the brutal murderer would strike again. The deranged killer jumped the fence into the backyard of a 38-year-old Evelyn Miroth. He approached the back door of the Miroth home and would find it unlocked, just like before. He let himself inside. He wandered through the home until he came upon a single mother of two in the bathtub. He would shoot Evelyn once in the head, killing her immediately. He then dragged her lifeless body out of the master bathroom and placed her upon the bed. Upon hearing noise, Evelyn's 6-year-old son ran to the doorway to the bedroom, where he would find this man undressing Evelyn. The boy screamed, alarming the attacker, who turned and fired 2 shots, both striking 6-year-old Jason Miroth in the head, her son. His body would be found laying in the hallway just outside the bedroom. After this, the attacker then went to the kitchen to retrieve a knife so that he could mutilate the body of Evelyn the same way he had done to Teresa Wallen. At this time, however, a friend of Evelyn's, Danny Meredith, had just returned to Evelyn's home. The attacker heard Danny's car approach in the driveway. Danny came face to face with the attacker as soon as he stepped inside the home. He was shot once in the head, and the attacker took the keys to his car. It was at this point that the killer heard sounds of the baby crying, most likely in response to loud sounds of gunshots. You see, Evelyn was babysitting her 22-month-old nephew, David Ferreira, unbeknownst to this killer. The killer moved down the hallway to a bedroom with a crib where he proceeded to shoot the baby once in the head. The home was now deafeningly silent. The killer then returned to a bedroom to perform the same ritual he had done to Teresa Wallen, in which he cut open Evelyn's stomach and removed her organs, stabbing specific organs again and again, leaving only her kidneys intact. He also removed the liver completely, and he cut off a piece and ate it, and then spat it out. This time the killer would drain the blood from the torso into a bucket that he had either brought with him or found at the Miroth home, consuming as much blood as he could stomach. The killer would then roll Evelyn onto her side and stab her in the anus repeatedly, then sodomizing the wound afterwards. He would then cut a deep line across her throat and crudely remove one of her eyes. Having finished with the corpse of Evelyn Miroth, he returned to the crib of the baby David and would take him to the bathroom. He smashed his face into the sink to split open his skull, and he dumped parts of the brain into the bathtub. After this, he would leave the home through the front door, carrying a bucket full of blood as well as the body of a 22-month-old David, and leave the scene in a red station wagon that had belonged to Danny Meredith. A neighbor who was supposed to come by to pick up Evelyn's 6-year-old son for a playdate discovered the body of Danny Meredith only 30 minutes after it had estimated that the killer had left. Detectives immediately assumed that this was the work of the same crazed person responsible for the Wallen murder. News of these massacres spread like wildfire around the Sacramento area. Citizens alike began buying stores out of guns, purchasing security systems, and new locks. And animal shelters were cleaned out as the city desperately sought for any attempt at security. The Sacramento Police Department became a rattled hornet's nest as everyone from beat cops to seasoned detectives got to work not only to nail down this mystery killer before he struck again, but also to find the body, dead or alive, of 22-month-old David Ferreira.
Jesus.
Lead detective on the case, Ray Biondi, had recently attended an FBI seminar in which they trained local law enforcement to use criminal profiling in their investigations. Armed with this knowledge, Detective Biondi developed a psychological profile for the madman responsible for these horrendous murders. The profile distinguished a few key points that put detectives on the right track. The report suspected that the right killer was 1. Disorganized, spontaneous, and lived a highly chaotic lifestyle. His crimes reflected a lack of planning, as well as a severe lack of impulse control. There was little strategy to the killer's crimes. 2. The killer most likely suffered from severe psychosis. This was determined from the grotesque violence and overkill found at the scenes. The killer also most likely suffered from sexual performance issues, thus leading the suspect to commit and develop paranoid delusions about their own body.
Mm-hmm.
After discussing these psychological issues, the report then began to describe likely physical appearances and potential locations for the suspect. The report stated that due to the suspect's chaotic and disorganized lifestyle, combined with delusions about bodily functions and control, he would most likely appear unkempt, barely able to take care of himself, thus showing signs of malnourishment, and would have to struggle severely with social interactions, making him appear a total loner. The report also stated that all of the previous mentioned issues would make it unlikely that the killer would be very mobile, or would be able to travel very far without either being noticed or having a significant breakdown due to an unfamiliar environment. They also theorized that due to the crimes occurring relatively close to each other in proximity, as well as location and time, he was likely from the Sacramento area. The report finally concluded that the killer was also highly likely to strike again, and strike again soon.
So these were within 2 days of each other?
3, but...
3.
Well, 4.
Damn near.
It was on the 23rd night, and then the 27th morning.
What year is this? Is this 79, I assume?
78.
Oh, 78. Did you say that before?
Yeah.
Sorry, it was a lot of information all at once.
I know, I just kind of like burned through it really quick.
Well, I was really trying
If you have any questions,
I
like...
was just like due diligently, like trying to like listen the whole time. So be respectful.
No, for sure. I mean, and like any questions you have, like feel free to just talk.
No, so these
Shout 'em out. There's a lot
are
of
these their first? Are these his first killings? I assume.
Well,
All the
get
like
to that.
the first murders.
We'll get to that.
Okay,
Because
all right.
in fact, they're not.
Okay,
But they are the first publicized.
these are the one. This is what got you like try to reel people in.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, this guy's fucked up.
Yep.
You know, listen to us as we tell you about how he fucked this girl or sodomized this girl in the anus. Correct?
Yeah, and I don't even think that's like the worst.
That's not.
There's a lot worse shit going on. So all of this is going on. Local detectives, they're being briefed with this report that was just conducted by this, I'm going to say, like, highly intelligent and very, very productive detective who put together an entire psychological, or, you know, what do they call it? Like a criminology. It's a criminology report.
Fantasy draft.
Nope, not
Okay,
draft. You're doing good though.
I'm sorry. I'm just throwing out things.
He'd go round 1 though if you were going to draft like. Well, maybe, I don't know. Maybe he'd be like a later round draft because I feel like he's maybe like a little less reliable than you'd like.
A fantasy football of serial killers. I don't think he goes in the first round.
He might, but he's like, you know what?
He'd be a sleeper.
He's like the Lamar Jackson.
No,
Serial killers.
No, Lamar Jackson's going first.
I get it, but you know what? I drafted Lamar Jackson 2 years in a row, and he didn't do shit for me. And then all of a sudden this year, he decided to be like the outstanding, no question #1 quarterback. And it's like, hey man, where's the consistency there? This guy's the same way. No consistency. All of a sudden he's there, and the next minute he's not.
Yeah,
all of a sudden he's back again.
He's not like that super well known.
He'll go back to back on weeks, but like he doesn't have a stuck. He doesn't have.
He's also not like.
In.
He's not a household serial killer name.
Richard Chase?
Yeah.
He should be.
He's not.
He should be, though.
If you ask any, like, person that's not, like, obsessed with horror or serial killers to name Richard Chase, they will.
Oh. But you may be correct.
So that's why he's not a first draft in the fantasy.
He's probably like early second
round.
Because but what he is though, he's like he's a league winner.
Oh, he only killed 7 people.
It depends on when he puts it together.
All right. Let's get back into this.
Does he put it together in week 14, 15? Maybe. You never really know.
We have a lot to discuss, I assume.
Yeah, we're like not even close to halfway through.
I figured.
All right. So, local detectives, they've been briefed with this report, this psychological report. They hit the streets asking locals in the area if anyone has seen anything or someone fitting this description. Neighbors in both areas reported noticing a strange, gaunt man sporting a stained orange parka wandering streets near the crime scenes in the days before and after the murders had taken place. This man was described as filthy, thin, and appeared lost or disoriented, perfectly aligning with the profile. One couple related to police that about a month prior, they'd chased a man from their home who'd been burglarizing it. The man escaped out the back door and hopped over the fence in their backyard. At one point, the burglar turned back to yell at the couple that he was only trying to take a shortcut. When the couple returned back to their home, they found that the place had been entirely ransacked, and that this unidentified burglar had not only shit on their bed, but had urinated in all of the drawers in their dresser.
What's wrong with this dude?
He was just taking a shortcut, man.
You see that?
You know when you take a shortcut and you just shit in everyone's bed and piss on their fucking clothes? You know, when you take a shortcut.
Exactly. We're just shortcutting.
In their canvassing in the neighborhoods, detectives also unearthed a smattering of reports of break-ins, burglaries, and in one instance, a dog was shot and killed in someone's backyard. This incident occurred on the 25th of January, right between the Wallen and Miroth murders. The shell recovered from the dog matched the .22 that was used in both of these murder scenes. Finally, a woman named Nancy Holden came forward to detectives to reveal an incident that had happened on the 27th, the day of the Miroth murders. She claimed that a former classmate from high school had trailed her through a local convenience store, asking her for a ride. He began the conversation in a very startling way by asking if she was on the motorcycle when Kurt died. Nancy's high school boyfriend had been named Kurt. And he had died on a motorcycle.
Interesting.
She noticed, though, that this man was disgustingly dirty, smelly, and was wearing this weird brown-stained parka, like an orange brown-stained parka, mirroring all of these other reports from the neighbors. After denying the man multiple rides home, she rushed from the store to her car, and as she was backing out of the parking spot, the man reached for the passenger handle of her door, yet missed, and she sped away. Nancy revealed to the detectives the name of her former classmate was Richard Trenton Chase. Police took this information and ran Chase through the system. Not only was it revealed that Chase had spent time in a mental health facility and had been diagnosed with severe psychosis and schizophrenia, detectives also found that Chase had purchased a .22 caliber pistol a few months before the murders had even occurred. Detectives now had their man. They staked out the apartment of Richard Chase and noticed that he fit the profile exactly. He was filthy, looked entirely unhealthy, displayed signs of mental health disorders, and always wore a horribly stained orange parka. When detectives decided to apprehend Chase, though, they approached his apartment and knocked, but no one answered. After knocking failed, the detectives made a big show about leaving for lunch, literally saying it to the door, but that they would be back. Instead, they hid in the nearby bushes of the parking lot, which is absolutely ridiculous. But Chase fell for this ruse, and within minutes was seen leaving the building walking for his car. That's when detectives tackled Richard to the ground. While he did appear frail and weak, one of the officers involved with the apprehending Richard claimed that he had an abnormal amount of strength, and it took multiple officers to hold all of the 120-pound Richard Chase to the ground. As Richard was found with his .22 caliber handgun in a shoulder holster, it is believed that he attempted to reach it as he struggled with detectives on the ground.
It's that vampire blood, dude.
I don't know what the fuck it is, but that dude's got some fucking superhuman strength. He's 120 pounds and is like throwing dudes off of him.
Sucking that lady blood. Sorry. And guy blood.
And lady, there's I don't.
And there's a lot of everything.
Baby blood, I think it's the biggest thing. It's the richest, right? Sorry, I didn't mean to go there.
It's like veal.
Right? All right. Once Richard was taken away, detectives received a warrant to search his apartment, which looked about as you'd expect if you were a fan of a Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Who is it?
The moment officers entered Richard Chase's apartment, the stench hit them first. Rotting meat, decay, and a foul metallic smell. Then they turned on the lights and saw it. Blood everywhere, on the floors, on the walls, smeared across the furniture. A pair of blenders on the counter were stained red, with bits and pieces of unknown matter sticking to the sides. It was evident that Chase has been drinking from it. Inside the fridge, they found several animal organs, as well as what detective would later come to find out was a plate with scoops of human brain matter. Some of these were partially consumed. Small and medium-sized corpses of animals were found laying around the apartment. Some on the furniture were laid out on the tables. All had been mutilated, torn to pieces. They also located several dog collars, but no dogs were found in the apartment. Police found Daniel Meredith's wallet on the bedside table, as well as a picture of Meredith and Evelyn Miroff that had been taken from the Miroff. While all of this is terrifying, the wildest discovery that would come was when police located a calendar that had the word today written on January 23rd and January 27th, the exact dates of the Wallen and Miroff murders. As investigators flipped through the pages of the calendar, they found the word today written 44 more times over the next year.
So that's how many people he's going to kill.
It's a fucking man. Through the detective, through their dedication and their investigation, as well as discovering the horrors of Richard's apartment, investigators had everything they needed to throw the book at Richard Chase. But none of their investigation explained why. To understand that, detectives and psychologists alike would have to go back to the beginning of the moments where the cracks began to form, to where the nightmare that became Richard Chase truly started. Richard Trenton Chase was born on May 23rd, 1950 in Santa Clara, California, to a fairly normal 1950s family, which pretty much means that, like, his dad was an asshole and probably hit him upside the head when he was stupid.
Eggs were so healthy.
People are like, oh, he was born to an abusive home. It's like, maybe in today's age, but no one was like, oh yeah, he beat the fuck out of him. It was just like, no, when he was fucking dumb or he fucked up, like he got punched or hit or whatever.
Well, I thought that he was like deeply abused. From what I watched, I don't know.
Compared to today, maybe, but like this is the 1950s. Like we're in the middle of like the Leave It to Beaver era and like All in the Family, where it's like, oh yeah, if you're stupid, like your dad's gonna fucking hit you on the back of the head and fucking like whack you.
I thought they were just saying that a lot of the trauma came from the neglect of his parents.
No.
Interesting.
From what I have seen, none of that is the case. He had like a fairly normal household. The parents didn't get along super well. The dad was maybe a little strict, but from what I could tell, nothing outside of like normal behavior of the time.
Okay.
But from an early age, Richard exhibited all three parts of the infamous McDonald triad, which is a set of behaviors linked to future violent offenses. These three parts include, you know what they are?
Not off the top of my head, but I've heard it. Like one of them.
Okay. We have bedwetting, like specifically late into like
past 5 or something, I think is what it said, yeah.
Past a very like typical age. Yeah. Okay, we have fire starting or like general destruction of property. And then the third one, which is like the most telling sign that's like very easy to detect, animal cruelty.
Yeah.
His mother revealed to a friend when Richard was in his teen years that when Richard was a child, she had found a mutilated cat buried in her own garden. This same friend claimed to remember that many animals went missing during the Chase's tenure as her neighbor. While Richard displayed the marks of early violent behavior, he was still able to be a relatively normal child from a social perspective. He seemed to have no trouble making friendships and keeping them as well. He also seemed to be relatively capable with the dating scene of the 1960s, as he was what some would consider a good-looking guy. However, Richard would eventually struggle with maintaining social relationships, but it is his sexual relationship difficulties, that I think is the primary driver for his descent into madness. In his teen years, when Richard began dating, he and his dates discovered that Richard was incapable of even getting, let alone maintaining, an erection during intimacy. Richard was later teased about this after several failed dates.
The girls or the high schools? Like
everyone knew, which is like the bigger.
So it begins.
Yep. It's a combination of all these things coming together at the same time. Around this same time, Richard was also attending health class and sex ed, where they discussed the nature of erections and how they work, namely that blood flows to the penis and makes it hard. Richard's lack of understanding of the minutiae of the inner workings of sexual organs caused him to believe that his inability to achieve erections was caused by the fact that he didn't have enough blood in his fucking body to gain one. This seems to be the first signs of psychosis that would dominate his life from here on. Richard's early psychosis was also spurred on due to Richard's heavy drug use, particularly LSD and marijuana, causing him to become paranoid about a multitude of things. One, he believed that his stomach was backwards and upside down inside his own body. He believed that his mother was working with Nazis to poison him.
Of course.
You know, normal things. Yeah. He had a feeling that his blood was somehow being drained from his body, but he didn't know how. And that is why he didn't have enough blood for his erections.
It's like through his butt when he was pooping?
No, dude, while he's sleeping, they're just pulling at his
Yeah.
wrists. I don't fucking know. He doesn't have any answers for it either. Richard then dug into research about the strangest cases of bodily dysfunctions and continuously convinced himself that he was a victim of all of these different things. This obsession with blood and organs would fuel his later crimes and murders. Richard noticed that he was mentally unwell, and he actually sought treatment in his later teen years. The doctors were concerned with Richard, however, his parents dismissed Richard's behavior as slightly abnormal, but nothing worth concern. These people saw every fucking red flag, and they turned a blind eye to it. I don't know what you think on this, but I find them partially responsible for the outcome of Richard's actions. Well, as we keep moving through these, you'll see more and more. How often? But he went to a doctor, and the doctor was like, "Hey, I don't think he's okay." And they're like, "We'll take him under our wing. We'll keep an eye on him." But after high school, Richard tired of bouncing between his parents and his grandmother's, where he was getting shipped every fucking other week because he would do something fucking ridiculous and get himself in trouble. And they'd be like, "You fucking take him. No, you take him. No, you take him." To the point where he eventually moved in with two girls whom Richard had known in high school. But his descent into paranoia, combined with his inability to take care of himself, led to the two girls moving out shortly after, so Richard was all alone. By the mid-1970s, Richard's paranoia had caused him to believe that his blood was turning to dust and he would need to consume fresh blood to survive. This is the first major escalation from the McDonald triad, where before, Richard was killing animals for fun, which is not a good sign.
No.
But after this, he's killing animals for a purpose, and that purpose is to consume their blood. In 1975, Richard was involuntarily committed to a psychiatric institution because he had injected himself with rabbit blood and had shown up to the local hospital with severe blood poisoning because of that.
Of course.
Yeah, you can't just fucking shoot other fucking animals' blood into you and think that's fine. You might. I mean, I guess I don't know. So far he's kind of gotten away with drinking blood.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't fucking IV that shit, dude.
Guess not.
Apparently not, I guess. I don't know.
I know
We're learning so much right now.
You really are.
Nurses and doctors would constantly find beheaded birds outside of Richard's jail, psychiatric cell. When he was found covered in blood this one time, the doctors demanded an explanation, to which Richard claimed that he had cut himself shaving. Literally completely covered in blood, and he was like, "I don't know, dude. I just cut myself shaving, I guess."
Jesus.
His whole fucking face. While it was almost unanimously agreed that the doctors and nurses should keep Richard hospitalized, the only one who really had a say was Richard's primary doctor, who was too busy, and he claimed that Richard was improving and he okayed his release. He had received a diagnosis of paranoid schizophrenia from this same doctor, but that doctor disregarded that diagnosis and let him go. In 1976, Richard was found by tribal police, half naked, running around the Pyramid Lake Paiute Reservation, covered in blood. When confronted, Richard was completely incoherent, unable to explain what had happened. Authorities then located Richard's truck about a half a mile down the road, a Ford Ranchero, that was covered in blood as well. Police also found 2 rifles and a bucket of blood in the back seat. Chase explained that the blood came from a cow. Since there was no way to tie him to any animal mutilations in the area, Chase was released, but an official report was filed. All this information Richard either relayed to investigators himself or through witnesses, such as Richard's parents or those whom police had investigated or contacted. While police were floored by all that Richard had confessed, they would be shocked when Chase revealed that Teresa Wallen was not his first victim. Chase connected himself to an unsolved drive-by shooting that had taken place on December 29th, 1977, about a month before the Wallen murder. Chase had reportedly just been driving down a street when he spotted a 51-year-old Ambrose Griffin unloading groceries from his car. He took out his newly acquired .22 caliber handgun and fired one shot, striking Griffin directly in the chest, which killed him immediately. His family came out and thought that he was suffering a heart attack. They literally were like yelling at him because apparently his wife was like, I fucking told you to stop eating that much fried chicken, or like, it was kind of ridiculous. She said that like she had continuously told him to like stop being so unhealthy. So she believed that he had had a heart attack and that's why he had collapsed. When she rolled him over, she saw how much blood had been pouring out. I was like, oh shit, maybe that's not what happened. Witnesses to that specific crime heard the gunshots and reported a rust-colored station wagon type truck, the exact description of Chase's Ford Ranchero, speeding away from the scene. This confession was maybe a little bit suspect until ballistic testing reported that the exact bullet that was fired from the .22 caliber and the other murders was used for the same exact murder through this case. Lastly and sadly, Richard somewhere along the way had informed detectives that whatever was left of the remains of David Ferreira, the 22-month-old baby that he hadn't consumed, was placed in a cardboard box near a dumpster at a local church a few days after his abduction.
Gross.
All of this information would come to light for the public during Richard's trial. The question was not whether Richard had committed these crimes. It was more whether he deserved to live. Prosecutors pushed for the death penalty for Richard, claiming that he was a monster who deserved to die. Richard's defense, on the other hand, argued that he was profoundly schizophrenic and should be institutionalized instead of executed. Jamie, we've gone through like a decent amount of the details in this case.
Yes.
Is Richard Chase insane enough to get an insanity plea?
Yes. However, I don't think he should.
Okay.
He did way too much fucked up shit to just sit in a hospital.
Right.
I think he did enough heinous things where, yeah, like, this person just needs to be done.
He like eventually it like gets to the point where it's like, no, you're like kind of like you push the envelope maybe a little bit too far.
You were a little bit too crazy. Where it's just like, all right,
that's fair. But he's not in control of his emotions, or that's what the defense is arguing.
Yeah,
I know what the answer is here.
No, I think like I don't think you talked about it yet. You kind of did, but like you chop off a baby's wiener, use it as a straw. That means you don't get to live anymore.
I didn't know about that.
But yeah,
is that a real thing?
Yes.
No, damn.
Yeah, I watched that. He literally cut off a kid's wiener and like used to slurp up blood
of the baby.
Yep.
Yeah. I didn't know about that. That's really gross. I wish you had.
Probably the worst thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes,
So all you ladies that are out there celebrating your fucking bachelorette,
little tiny penis,
doing your bachelorette parties with your little dick straws, just remember that was done by a real person with a real dick one time.
All right.
So think about it.
Yeah. All right, keep going.
All right, so you say that like, yeah, maybe, but like, no, fucking, it's about time for this guy to go.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the craziest stories I've ever heard.
Yep.
I don't use that loosely.
Yep.
Like some people. But
I don't know who you're talking about.
Me neither. But there's a point where you're like, okay, like you're way too nuts for this. You're doing way too much heinous shit to be able to be crazy.
10,000%.
Yes.
You're not alone, because guess what?
Mm-hmm.
The jury agreed.
Oh, yeah. I would say that.
So the jury returned a guilty verdict, and they sentenced Richard to death by gas chamber. Richard did make an insanity defense, but there were complications. While it is obvious looking at the crime scenes, as well as Richard's obvious mental health issues, that there were several key details that hurt Richard's claim to an insanity defense. Richard wore gloves during his crimes to prevent fingerprints and DNA from being shed during his commission of the crimes.
Mm-hmm.
Also, in the Miroth case, Richard had shown a level of planning that contradicted the idea that he was committing these crimes with no impulse control. When he fled the Miroth scene in Danny Meredith's station wagon, he drove it across Sacramento and then ditched it in an apartment complex where he had already left his own Ford Ranchero, where he then returned home. This shows a significant level of forethought to this crime and hurts the argument that Chase's crimes were done in a fit of insanity without thought. Plus, we have an entire calendar where 2 different murders, horrific murders, were done and already marked down on a calendar. Definitely showing some premeditation.
Mm-hmm.
His cleaning of the knife at the Wallen murder indicates that he was aware that he should wash the knife to erase evidence, as well as to clean up after his own mess. Yes, this is a strange argument, but certainly one that was caught up in a bout of insanity would have definitely overlooked. At the end of the day, the jury agreed that Richard Chase knew what he was doing and that he deserved to die for it.
Mm-hmm.
Richard was sent to San Quentin State Prison, where he quickly became a target of harassment. Other inmates often threatened to Chase and would throw cups of urine as well as feces into his cell. They referred to him as Dracula. However, this nickname had actually been acquired in his first stint at a mental hospital in 1975, but it did seem quite fitting. Richard's life would come to an end in jail on December 26, 1980. This death would not come at the hands of the state, however. It would come at the hands of Richard himself, as he would overdose on a series of antipsychotic pills that he had hoarded from prison doctors. A fate far too kind for this kind of monster.
I agree.
Richard Chase's case is one of the most disturbing in American criminal history, not just because of the nature of his crimes, but because of the clear warning signs that were blatantly ignored. The blood rituals, the animal mutilations, the psychiatric stays, all of it should have stopped him before he even pulled the trigger. But in the end, the only person that stopped Richard Chase was himself. A fitting end for a vampire of Sacramento. Fuck that dude.
Yeah, he's dead. You can fuck him if you want, but you're also going to go to jail for it.
I don't know. He's probably free reign at this point. Isn't he like, what do they call that? Public domain?
He's dead. No, that's 100 years.
100 years?
Yeah, for public domain.
Walt Disney's up, though.
Mickey Mouse.
You fuck Walt Disney?
No, Steamboat Willie is. Would I? No, I wouldn't fuck any of those things. You're the only one that fuck. You just said fuck that guy.
Yeah, but like you're saying like 100 years though. He's public domain. You can just fuck him.
No, 100.
I don't know how all of this works. Obviously,
100 years is public domain means that there's no copyrights that anyone can do. That's why like Peter Pan and Winnie the Pooh are now like horror movies.
I see what you're saying. So you're saying you can't just fuck 100-year-old people because they're years old.
You have to wait at least 20, 30 years before you can fuck this dead body that you want to fuck.
Is that legal?
I don't think so.
Okay, you're just making up things then.
Yeah, I'm just saying like
all right, I thought you had legal.
It'll be public domain then.
Yeah, dude.
But it's still probably illegal to have sex with bodies.
That's probably true.
We should also dive into the fact that you want to have sex with bodies. It's pretty fucked up.
I didn't really get into that.
Oh, maybe I just like assumed. I'm sorry.
You just kind of brought it up, and I was like curious about where you were going with things.
Yes, I don't know where I'm going. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
We'll get rid of all this. This is.
Do you have any like wrap up thoughts, questions, anything?
No. So, died in prison.
Yep.
horrific childhood.
It wasn't that bad of a childhood. He was a bad kid.
I heard like he killed a shit ton of animals.
He did kill a shit ton of animals.
Pissed his bed.
Yep. He also lit a shit ton of things on fire.
Yeah. He killed, how many total people did he kill?
6. That's why it's a little bit confusing.
People, a serial killer.
Call him a serial killer because he's over, I think it's 4.
2 is the official.
Is it?
2 with the motive to go again.
Mm-hmm. Okay. There's 2 separate instances, you mean? Okay. But he's also very much a spree killer, whereas these things are located within a certain amount of time frame. All of these are happening within 1 month.
Mm-hmm. So he killed 6.
Even from the drive-by that what do we make of the drive-by of Mr. Griffin? He didn't get anything out of that, but I think he was just so much into the fact that he had power through a fucking gun that it made him invincible. What do you see through that?
I don't see any more than what we just talked about it. There's no philosophical part that I see.
Well, but we have to look at it from an escalation standpoint, where it's that's he's moving at, we don't know any other kills. So that's the first human kill.
That one is. Yeah.
He's been doing animals though.
Yeah.
Killing animals for a while. And I think we really get to understand him as a killer that he doesn't really give a shit about the body. Maybe. We kind of get a lot later. He's very complicated to nail down, because as we look through other characters, Bundy or fucking any of these guys, they're very much process or product killers. Or they either BTK is a process killer. He enjoys the act of killing. Well, when you just straight up fucking shoot someone in the head immediately, I feel like that pretty much rules you out. You're not in it for the thrill of the kill.
You just want that person dead.
Right. Now, he's pretty significantly into the process side of things, but only selectively, right? We have him dealing with, the Jason Muroth, who's a 6-year-old, who shows up in the doorway and he fucking shoots him twice in the face immediately, and he just leaves him completely alone.
Just doesn't even flinch, turns around, here's the kid, shoots it in the face.
Boom, boom, done. He goes to the kitchen to grab a knife so that he can get back to the mom.
See, exactly what I thought why this person's a piece of shit. He shouldn't get to be in a mental home forever.
Exactly. His mind isn't fucking gone. He knows exactly what he wants. He's just a piece of shit. So that's what I was asking though, is he's a very difficult...
He was a piece of shit.
He's difficult to nail down.
Head is pissed out.
Yep, he's super dead. He died in 1930. He was only... Sorry, 1930? 1980.
Old time in murder.
Died in 1980.
I do declare I'll murder these people and fuck them.
But
1980.
I don't know. He's a little bit more complex, I guess, than I would say that we see a lot of the killers in this, the big time serial killers, where they're either one or the other. He kind of is one
or the other. What?
He is not at all a process killer. Okay. But he's not a full on product killer, where he doesn't take every body that he gets and uses it for his own advantage. He has specific things that he needs, and then he's kind of done with it.
Agree with that.
Which you don't see that often with with product killers. Any kill means a lot, and they take the body. The body is the more important thing.
Yes,
not the act. And I don't know. It's very strange. So I don't know. I'm a little bit unsure on whether or not he's a process killer or a product killer. I don't think I don't think he's at all a process killer. He doesn't give a fuck about.
You just said you didn't think he was a process killer,
but he may.
He's a product killer.
He's an interesting version of a product killer, where he doesn't use everybody that he has. He is selective with that. The other question I had, he's referred to the entire time as the vampire of Sacramento. And we have small little details here and there. Obviously, the blood is the biggest reason.
I think it's the only reason.
Well, we also have the fact that
he
seemed to... So, as they were interviewing him, taken information from him where he claimed that he thought he was welcome and homes where doors were unlocked. So if he went to the back door of your house and it wasn't locked, he thought he was okay to just go in. Which is like...
Yeah, it's a crazy person.
Eerily, like, it's a weird, twisted version.
Well, vampires have to be invited.
Exactly, but he took it as an invitation. It's like, if you're not locking me out, I'm welcome in.
What does it make him a real vampire?
Now, he did not at all ever, at no point in his entire interrogation or his case or anywhere after, mention himself thinking of himself as a vampire. But he definitely has these weird fucking vampire tics that, like, give him the name the vampire, where, like, he's obviously
drinking a shit
solely consumed with blood. But also has these small little things.
Did it work? Like, did his wiener finally get hard or what?
He probably died with a boner.
Do you not know? You don't know it for a fact.
I don't know that for a fact, but I mean, I'm guessing. Like,
I'm assuming it didn't work because he continued to keep on killing. Neither I thought it was like
oh no, like I think like as he died, because like I think like murder was like the only way he got hard, and if he killed himself, he was probably like, oh hell yeah, I'm definitely killing myself.
The David Carradine style.
Yeah.
Audio fixation.
Something like that.
Something like that for sure.
I haven't seen any reports of him getting a boner while he's dying, but it wouldn't surprise me, I guess I would say.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's this case.
There it is.
I'm glad you recommended this one.
You're welcome.
Yep. It's a fucked up case. I hope that everyone like doesn't enjoy it, but like appreciates going through these things, because this is the world we live in.
This was the world we're given.
Yep.
Well, wonderful.
People like this do exist. They're very rare, especially in today's age. I feel like there are so many more safety nets than there used to be in like the 70s, that people that are exhibiting these types of behaviors aren't being let go from.
They're also being caught.
Hospitals. Their parents are definitely fucking sending them to fucking wherever they need to actually get help. They're not just dismissing this. I know I mentioned it earlier, but like I do put a significant stock in the fact that like the parents do bear some responsibility here, because they straight up fucking, not only did they like bail him out continuously, but they just straight up let him go. They're like, hey, I think he's okay. We should definitely let him live on his own. It'll be a good idea for him to be alone outside of social norms. I think that they bear some responsibility in all of the crimes.
Yes, for sure. All of them?
I don't want to blame them for it, but they bear some responsibility.
They definitely made the person that they made. All right. Well, I want to thank you for a wonderful story that you wrote.
Thanks, dude.
I had a really good time listening to it.
I tried to like switch it up a little bit.
Yeah,
do a little like non-serious.
Yeah,
you know.
You didn't do like the whole, this is the beginning of him, this is the middle, this is the end.
Yeah.
It was definitely like hey, this is what happened.
No, we went straight into the gnarly.
Right into the gnarly shit. So I appreciate that. It's a nice new take. With that being said, what are the things we say right now?
Drink those demons?
No, not yet. Not yet, sir.
Okay.
what do we ask people to do?
Oh man, if you guys like care at all about us, we really could use just like, I think this episode was like, people seem to love these true crime episodes. So I'd say that like, if you like this episode, definitely fucking like, definitely subscribe. More importantly than anything, fucking comment and tell us that we're fucking dumb as shit. We'd love to hear how dumb we are. We don't do corrections here because we already know that we're wrong. So we don't have to issue them. I don't know. Do you have more offer on that?
No, please.
No, but if ever like people tell us that we're wrong on things, we'll probably just do it.
I know we're just another true crime podcast, but we're your true crime podcast.
Crew crime.
True. I can't say it right now.
We're crew crime, dude.
We are true crime. Sorry. I have been drinking.
No, you're crew crime, dude.
Thank you for listening to this true crime podcast. Please like and subscribe.
And our heart goes out to you.
We love you so much.
It goes out, dude. Big ups.
And like Peter said, please make sure to drink down those demons.
Drink them down, drink them down, drink them down. I'm going to chug this whole beer right now. Ready?
Yep.